Good morning, Bible 3. Sorry about the delay posting this video. I've been waiting. Jonathan Rumi, his marketing person, is supposed to email me this morning with a date and time for next week for our Zoom call. So I was just kind of hoping she'd email me early this morning so I could give you more specific information, but she hasn't yet. So I'll just, when I hear back from her, I'll send an email out to you guys as to what day and time that will be. Also, big change, important. I want to make sure everybody hears this. I had originally thought we'd just do 12 to 15 students in that Zoom call. In talking with their marketing people, they said, no, get as many people as you can on the Zoom call and then have just a couple of them be the ones who have kind of questions ready in their pocket to start conversation. And then at the end, anyone who wants to will have a little open question time for Jonathan, the guy who plays Jesus. So as soon as I find out the date and time for next week, that call with Jonathan, it's going to be a part of class that you show up to that unless you have some conflict. And I recognize there might be a conflict. You might have work. You might have something going on with another class because we're kind of working off of Jonathan's schedule next week. So it's hard to make it fit in one of our Bible 3 slots. But assuming that slot is open for you, I would like you to be there. In fact, if you can't, I'd love for you to shoot me an email just saying, you can't because of some conflict. But I really think this is going to be a cool opportunity to be able to talk to Jonathan, to be able to hear his story about how he's portraying Jesus. I love so many of your questions you guys came up with. So I'm going to be emailing people individually in the next week saying, hey, you came up with this question in that survey. Would you be willing to ask it in our time with Jonathan? Those kinds of things. Those of you who emailed me originally saying, I want to be part of the Zoom call, I'll be looking to you guys to see if you'll read other questions that I have for that Zoom call. I can't wait. I'm so excited. I've just had a blast talking with that whole team over the last couple weeks and hearing about some season 2 ideas. So it's just been really fun, and I'm looking forward to having that conversation next week. Also, one other thing, my friend Ben Tamling is a Christian school teacher in Grand Rapids. I did invite his class to be a part of it too, so we'll probably have a pretty full Zoom call. They watched The Chosen, and I said, hey Ben, we're talking with the Jesus guy, and we'd love for you to show up. So you'll be able to meet some of those kids as well. It's just one class. He doesn't. I have 3 sections of Bible 3. He's just got like 1 section of Gospel. So. All right. Any questions you have, of course, feel free to email me. This week's work for Bible 3 is pretty clear, hopefully, below. We're basically reading the next 2 chapters from The Prodigal God. I hope you've been enjoying this. I love this book. I love the ideas. If you see, I got to write in mine because it's actually my copy, but just every single page has words in the margins or underlined. Just so many ideas that to me is like, man, this is it. This is who God is. And it's just such a thoughtful description of who we are as well and our need for Jesus, man, or Yeshua, excuse me. So this week you're reading the next 2 chapters. That's chapter 4 and chapter 5. There are 2 separate reflections on Moodle. This week we're going with just a reflection, as that was the vast majority of you preferred that method or that mode. So I've got specific questions for chapter 4, and chapter 5 is you choosing a couple quotes from that chapter to reflect on. Oh my goodness, my kids are taking a bath, and it's like right through this wall. So if you hear them screaming, that's what that is. Sorry about that. Couple quick thoughts on the chapters we're going to read this week. I love 4 in particular, as it really challenges me as a Christian. It forces me to think about my motives, because so much of this parable Jesus tells pushes us deeper to think not just what am I doing, but why am I doing what I'm doing. And in fact, chapter 4 made me think of a story from when I was in high school. When I was in high school, we took this mission trip to Mexico, and it ended up being actually really a weird experience for me. We worked with this organization in Mexico, and they would put together these carnival days. They would go into a town and have all these games and all these fun things to do for kids, and just hundreds of kids would come out of the woodwork, and we'd just play and talk, but then every hour or so, everything would stop, and there'd be a presentation of the gospel, and so one of the people part of this team would go up and share who Jesus is, all these different things. But then here's how it ended. This is the part that always kind of like weirded me out, and I wasn't quite sure. In fact, years after, I've been still reflecting on this. They would say, all right, everybody, if you want to accept Jesus into your heart, which is an interesting phrasing already, I think. I mean, that's not totally the way Jesus talks about a relationship with him, but oh well, it's whatever. If you want to accept Jesus into your heart, raise your hand. And if you do that, you can come up and pick out a candy. And I tell you what, every single kid accepted Jesus that day. Some kids more than once. Ha ha ha. It was this like, wait, what? Like, you get a piece of candy if you accept Jesus? And as all these kids rush forward, to get a candy, they raise their hand, and I'm sitting in the back, I'm just thinking this is, to me, this is kind of messed up, because this is very little to do with Jesus. And maybe some of them it did. Maybe some of them were moved by the proclamation of the gospel. But a lot of them, I'm sure, wanted candy, and Jesus was the means to the candy, right? Jesus was the vehicle through which they could get this candy. And as I reflect on this, I could identify that as like, there's something wrong there. I don't think that's quite right. But, in my reflecting after this event, I thought, is it different to take out candy, and what if you put heaven there? Accept Jesus, and here's heaven. Is it different? And frankly, I think it is different. But I also think there are some components of that are very similar. And so if we were in class, we'd have a big discussion about that. Is it okay to say, hey, accept Jesus, and not here's candy, but here's eternal life, in a good place versus this bad place. And that for me was part of my story. I remember my motivation as a kid to follow Jesus, or to accept him into my heart. It was like, I don't want to go here, and I do want to go here. And so Jesus was a means to an end that was actually more about me than it was about Jesus. It was self-preservation. And so, and again, I don't know. That's why I wish we could have a great discussion right now, because I don't know if that's all totally bad, or just like some maybe convoluted motives. Because for me, I would say this. Here's something that I've concluded. That is not the reason I follow Jesus anymore. Do I believe heaven is a real thing? Yes, I most certainly do. But that's not my motive for following Jesus anymore. That's like a bonus almost. It's like, over the years, I've fallen in love with and have been captivated by this Jesus guy, to the point that I say, I want to follow him. In fact, even if it costs my life. So now it's not self-preservation. Now it's there's a price tag. I want to follow Jesus because he's worth it. And so my motive, though it began there, just to not go to hell and to go to heaven as a young kid, really, is it bad that it started there? I don't know. I probably won't do it quite like that with my kids, but I will say this. If it stays there, if I grew up and became a 15-year-old kid and a 20-year-old kid and a 30-year-old kid, and I'm in this because I don't want to go to hell and I do want to go to heaven, I think there's a problem with that. I do. I think there's, and this book prompts me to say, what is my motive? What is this about? Because we might be surprised to find out we're similar to the elder brother in this story, who at the end is outside the Father's house, refusing to go in, because it's not what he thought it was. It's not about what he thought it was about. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. I encourage you to really engage these chapters. Read them slowly. I've taken away, there was another assignment for this week. I took it away because I really wanted to make sure you guys had time to do this and do it well, and to think about these things, and then to express them in your reflections for this week. Okay, I like you guys so much. I hope you're doing well. Please, please, please email me with any questions, any thoughts, or just to say hi. I would like that very much. Peace.